Is it better to rent or buy in today's time? You guys, everybody's been putting their input on this whole thing, and people been asking me, Thach, what's your thoughts on that? So today, I'm gonna share with you guys my point of view, my own experience. Should you actually rent or buy? Now, there's gonna be a lot of factors gonna determine actually should you rent or buy. One of it's gonna be lifestyle. What's your lifestyle? How old are you? How much money do you make? And we're gonna dive deep in all that. You guys ready to do this? Let's go. So let me start off by saying this. There is time where it's actually better to actually rent versus buying. So even if you have the money, even if you have the credit, sometimes it's just right for you actually just rent versus buying. So I'll give you an example. I want you to think about this if you're renting. If you know that you are not gonna be staying where you at for at least 7 years, you should definitely rent. The other thing is if you know that your job it's not super consistent or it's not stable, or you might want to leave and go do something else with another job, then you should actually stay and just rent. Because there's no point in going buying a house and then your job is inconsistent and they lay you off, then you gotta sell. Because by the time you go and sell, the closing costs and what it takes to sell a home is gonna actually cost money. You're gonna lose when you sell the property. So those are the two factors, in my opinion, that if you're in those two factors, you should actually rent versus actually buying, okay? I'm gonna give you guys a real case study of one of my students I was just talking to the other day, because she asked me, should I actually rent or buy right now? Because the rates are so high, Thach. Should I just wait until the rates go down lower? So I'm gonna share with you guys the real number, okay, what it costs, okay, for her to buy something in her area called Chico, California. Right now she's renting, and I asked her, what does she pay for rent? She paid $2,500. And I said, do you have a good job? Your credit's good. She said, my credit is good. You know, I have the down payment. I have a good steady job. It's gonna be consistent. I don't see myself getting laid off anytime soon. So I said, that's great. If you got all those, that's all good pluses. So I said to her, okay, this is your first time buying a property. What I would recommend you doing, you house hack if you're gonna buy. House hack is you buy a house, you say you live upstairs and you rent out the basement to help offset your mortgage. Or you buy a multi-unit, like a duplex, triplex, or fourplex. You live in one unit, you rent the other units out, so help offset your mortgage. Hopefully you can stay there for little to nothing. So I said to her, I want you to do the research, find out what single family home is selling for with a basement in your area in Chico, or what a duplex going for. She did her research, she got back to me, she says, they both range anywhere between $450,000 to $600,000. So let's go through the number. I said, let's use a number of $550,000. You can either buy a single family or a duplex, $550,000. So since you're a first-time home buyer, you can put down 5%. 5% of $550,000 is $27,500. Do you have that? She said, yes, I do. Great. Then that means you would be borrowing basic $522,500. And after I did all the mortgage calculator and everything, the principal and interest and mortgage insurance, property tax, everything, you're looking at about $3,900 a month. Based on today's interest rate. Now, the interest rate is a little on the high side right now, but it's okay. Here's one thing I know. We're never gonna go back down to the threes, probably not even the low 4 anymore. Remember this, every 1% interest rate drop, 1 million more buyers come on the field. So she agreed, it makes sense, right? If she can find something, she's gonna buy. Now, if your loan amount is $522,500, your principal, interest, everything is $3,900, I say, great. I said, what can you rent when you one side the duplex for in Chico? She said about $2,200. So if you take actually $3,900 minus $2,200, she only was living on her side for only $1,700. And what did you say you rent right now for? She said she rented $2,500. So it's actually cheaper to buy something because she can have her money invest in real estate, let it grow. At the same time, she's staying in her own property for cheaper than actually renting on someone else's property she don't own for higher. So it makes more sense for her to actually buy right now and have a cheaper rent payment than she would if she was renting. Okay, let's talk about the pros and the cons about renting versus buying. Let's talk about renting. Here's a couple of pros about actually renting. If you're renting, it is easier to relocate when it's time to go. Like I said, okay, if one minute you're tired of your job and you say, you know what, I'm done. I want to move to Seattle. I want to start something new. You can easily give you a notice and you're basically out of there, okay? Another pro is any maintenance or repair is not your responsibility. If there's something that needs to be fixed, you ask the owner to fix it for you and it's done. Now, if you own your own property, you got to spend your own money and you got to fix it yourself. Again, those are just some of the pros of actually renting properties. Here's the one thing about the negative about renting. You don't control the rent. You know who controls the rent? The owner controls the rent. As a landlord, Their job is to maximize the rent year after year. And the sad thing is this, the second part of the negative of renting, you don't get no tax write-off, you don't own anything, and you're paying somebody's mortgage down for them, and all the money you pay for rent, it goes basically nowhere. All right, so let me share with you some pros and cons about owning a property. Number one of the biggest pros in owning a rental property is the write-off, okay? Did you guys know if you own a house? Now, you gotta check with your CPA or accountant, okay? If you house hack, you live upstairs and you rent the basement, or you live on one side, you rent the other side out, okay? Ask your accountant CPA on all the tax benefit. But I know right now from what I hear from people that if you live upstairs and rent the basement out, or live one side, rent the other side out, you can actually write off where you live, and you can also write off the side that you rent out. But here's something I do know. You can write off basically mortgage interest, property tax. If you put down less than 20%, you got PMI mortgage insurance, you gotta pay for, you can write that off, but go talk to your CPA. The other thing, okay, pros, I wrote down this, is compound appreciation. If you own real estate, just the appreciation and the compound of it year after year, you're winning big time. That's how people create so much wealth, is actually through compound appreciation. The next thing I wrote down is this, cash flow and passive income. If you live upstairs and you rent the basement out, or you live one side, you rent the other side out, you can create a little bit of passive income on one side that can offset your own mortgage. That's a win. You can actually own a property, have someone pay for half of your mortgage, or more of your mortgage, okay? Now, the next thing I wrote down is this, you can grow your net worth. Folks, this is the simplest way. You don't do nothing. You just let the property appreciate and your net worth grow with it. This is the way how people are creating wealth in America, is through owning real estate. And it starts with just buying the first property. Once you buy the first property, for example, in this scenario with my friend Chico, she lived on one side, rent the other side out. Later on, once you can, when the rates go down, she can refinance this thing, drop her mortgage down from $3,900 and lower, she can live on her side even for less than $1,700. Later on, if she gets more money, she can turn both of these to rental and buy another property and do it the same again. This is how you grow your wealth owning real estate. And the last thing is your mortgage is fixed. Remember I said, if you actually are renting, you don't control your rent. If you actually own rental property, once it's a fixed rate, you're basically, your monthly payment, it is fixed. It's never gonna go up. Let me just say right up front, owning a house is not for everybody, okay? If it ain't for you, keep renting. But if it is for you, I want you to think about this, okay? Here's some of the negative. When you own a house, you gotta put down the down payment. Well, luckily these days they have a program where all you have to put down is for only 5%. But that's the con, you gotta have some money up front. Now, you're also gonna need some reserve money, because if maintenance or something breaks, you gotta be responsible for fixing it yourself. Since you also are buying this to live in, and you also are house hacking, you gotta deal with tenants, okay? Dealing with tenant at the beginning, you might have to get used to collecting rent, making sure that, they follow the rules, okay? And take care of your property also. But I'm gonna say this, the negative is so small compared to all the pros, it outweighs the negative. That is a wrap for this video. What you got to think about my thoughts around should you actually rent or buy in today's time, okay? Everybody have their own thoughts on it. That's Thach's thought, okay? After 35 years of doing real estate and owning hundreds and hundreds of property, okay? And I can appreciate where people, are coming from. So again, you guys have any thoughts, question, comment, please comment right here. If you like the video, give me a like, you guys. And remember, you guys, we're trying to hit 1 million subscribers. So do us a favor, hit that subscribe button for us, baby, so we can get to that 1 million subscriber, okay? But until then, you guys, have a fantastic day. I'll see y'all soon. Peace.